It's 2015 and my wife and I are riding little red rental bikes through downtown Denver. These are the kind of bikes that you pay at the little bike rack, you pedal it to the other rack and you let it go, and you're kind of paying by the 15 minutes. But we're pedaling these through downtown Denver. We're on our way to eat some lunch at a little cool place that we read about just up at the hotel room. After lunch, we hop in an Uber and we're going south of town to a new brewery. Well, an existing brewery that just moved to this new property. Beautiful property. Mountain views, got a creek running through it. Awesome place. So we spent some time there, have a great time, hop in the Uber back to downtown, go to dinner, eating outside at a nice Mexican restaurant, before hopping on a train and heading to a concert. Amazing day, full of amazing experiences and activities. 1 week later, we find ourselves outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is where we live. We don't do any of those things. There's cool places to eat lunch. There's breweries on cool properties. There's nice restaurants that we can eat outside at. And there's concerts near every day. But we don't do it. And the reason we don't do it is because we're not a tourist in our own home. We were a tourist when we were in Denver. So what's the difference? The difference is we tend to take our little bubble for granted, because this is what we're used to. When we go somewhere else, we know there's a starting point and an ending point. That's why it's so important that we soak up all those experiences. Find out what that means with your financial life right after this. Hey, it's Derek Hagan. I'm a financial therapist. Got another Money Health presentation for you where we're going to be talking about how we can talk about tourism. And we're all tourists on Earth. Let's take a look at that. So, we're all tourists on Earth, right? We arrive, there's an arrival date, there's a departure date. We're not here forever. So we're all earthly tourists. And sometimes you'll read about this, often in Eastern traditions, Buddhism, or there's other philosophies as well, but kind of growing that circle of us. So often, especially today in this day and age, these bubbles are really small, and us versus them, it becomes everybody else is them, right? But if we can grow us to be not just people who are on the blue team or on the red team, or not just people who believe this or believe that, but we're all members of this city. We're all members of this state. We're all members of this country. Well, what about if we say we're all residents of Earth? But we're also all tourists on Earth. So, think about what it's like to be a traditional tourist. You go somewhere, you get there in the plane, you're on the road trip, you drive there, you take a train. However you get into this place, you arrive at your destination. And then some time goes by, and then you've got a departure date. And time passes as you're there. So you know that you've only got a certain amount of time left, and so you savor those experiences. You experience life as a tourist. You try to, depending on your philosophy, this could go any way, you try to get the big sights. I want to go to all the tourist attractions and check them out. Some people say, I want to see what the locals are like. But whatever you're doing, you're savoring those experiences because you know you're not there long. But what I'm proposing is that that's the same thing. It's the same thing with life. Our arrival date is our birth. And our departure date, that's when we die. And some time has passed, and we aren't here forever, so we ought to savor these experiences. If we can take that same tourism mentality and apply it to our whole life, it'll help us prevent us from taking our life for granted. Now, the timeline is longer. This could be 80 years or more. But we ought to not take our life for granted. So now that you're not going to take life for granted, you get to realize that you can let go of some things and just enjoy life in general. So you were born. You didn't choose to be born. Right? You just happened to be born. And that means that you're one of the lucky ones. You get to have a life. And now that you have a life, you get to ask yourself, well, what the heck does that mean? What is a life? What is a life? So if you're going to talk to somebody, let's assume in some weird alternate universe You can talk to somebody who's not yet born but will be born. And this potential person or future person asks you, what's it like to be alive? What's it like to be living? And you're probably not, at least if you're honest, you're probably not going to say, everything's great all the time, there's no problems, and we're always happy. It's awesome. All the time. Probably not going to say that, because life is a series of setbacks, a series of struggles, a series of challenges. And we know that. And that's how it should be. But so many of us have our expectations backwards. We wake up and think, I hope nothing goes wrong today. I hope there's no unexpected expenses today. And when we have that, I hope nothing goes wrong mindset, it just kind of, we set ourselves up to be disappointed. So we get to understand that there will be setbacks and struggles, and that's okay, because that's part of living. So when you think about the rest of this timeline, the rest of this life that you have back, or have left to live, how can you get a good life out of this? How can you make the most of your time here? Well, you could be rigid. You could say, here's what I do every day. This is how I'm going to do it. That's all I want to do. Stuck in my ways. And you can do that. And there's a little bit of enjoyment there. Certainly compared to floating around completely unaware, reacting to life, floating around from circumstance to circumstance, right? Having a rigid life is better than that. But what if you could change your mindset a little bit and be curious? Come to life with a eye towards curiosity. Even the bad things. What's that like? Why did that happen? What will I learn from this? How can I apply this later in life? How can I learn to not make that mistake again? Curiosity first will help you enjoy that time that you have left. And it also helps you live intentionally, on purpose. Live life with purpose, on purpose. That means when you're using your money, you're not just tapping your phone to a little reader. Or you're not just going to a website and hitting go and not understanding what just happened. You want to know that you're using your money on purpose to support the life that you want to live, that life that you're leading, that curiosity first life. And if you do that, the more you live intentionally, the happier you're going to be. And happier could be the fleeting version, the giggling and the laughing, but I'm talking about subjective well-being. Like just calmness, a sense of peace. Right? So live intentionally, understand that you're not here long. Treat your life as if you were a tourist on Earth and you only have so much time. If you do that, that's good money health.